start today with the MeeGo user experience. How your applications look like, what kind of a building blocks you have for your apps. And then we will move into the more technical part. Oh, that was not the code. Let's look at that. What is this MeeGo? I think I had to motivate a little bit. If you really think that we are here talking about MeeGo, Harmatan, one platform. So does it make any sense to write software to one platform? Perhaps not. But of course the idea is that whatever you write for MeeGo, with small changes, the same programs are running in Symbian phones and wherever kids will be available. So in Android and I don't know, Windows Phone is a little bit difficult case for Nokia because Microsoft has Silverlight and Microsoft doesn't have any other additional technology which is even close to that. So perhaps somebody may try to port Qt or some QML viewer at least to Windows Phone. It requires a little bit hacking right now because all the platform APIs are not there. But I guess that Nokia is not going to do that. Let's look at what kind of a UI we have, how you design your applications using what kind of principles, and then patterns and components provide the building blocks for us. So what is the good thing is that the user experience have been defined in very detailed way. So if you write your application, you can make it look like exactly the existing applications provided by Nokia. And of course, I'm not going to go through in that level of detail all the user experience stuff. If you want to look at that, what is all the documents and information related to the user experience, look at this white.nokia.com. As the name says, the idea is, this is Nokia N9, but I still use that. Let's think that this is a MeeGo phone. The idea is that you really swipe to do the basic functionality. Let's look at what that basic functionality is. Of course, you can add swipe functionality in your applications as well, but it must not be in contradiction with the application framework swipe functionality, which I will show you soon. Okay, I'm not going through all the software components. If you see that I'm talking about Toolbar, you can guess that there is QML element called Toolbar. So typically there is always a corresponding element not in Qt, but in QML. So really the idea is to use QML. Yeah, and it has some similarities. Some of the guys have said that, hey, there are a lot of similarities to Android, but of course it's going to be, and it is its own signature user experience. I will explain soon that what are the ideas behind. What is MeeGo Harmatan? Just to define, I guess all of you know, but anyway, let's define. Okay, what the Stephen Ilop has said, MeeGo effort will be an ongoing. Okay, doesn't mean that it has been cancelled or stopped completely. Of course, no, not so much money is put into the development of that compared to the Windows Phone, which is now the main smartphone platform. So ongoing exploration of innovative. This is an important word. Platform disruptions and next generation devices. Platforms and user experience. And that is exactly what it is. It's really cool, really nice, provides you to have innovative applications in a very easy and quick way. Okay, some of you were MIMO guys. You have used the Fremantle, so MIMO 5. So actually what is Harmatan? Harmatan is MIMO 6. This is one way to define what is Harmatan. What is MeeGo? MeeGo is the open source organization where Nokia and Intel contributed best parts of their platforms. Nokia from MIMO and Intel from Mobile, which is another not handheld, not smartphone, but platform used in handheld devices. And that's how they created the MeeGo. And unfortunately, Nokia then experienced that this is perhaps not the platform with which we can get huge amount of money. A lot of money, but perhaps not a huge amount of money. And they made other decisions like moving to Windows Phone. But remember that Qt is really relevant still. Nokia is planning to sell 150 million Symbian-based phones, and then they are planning to sell Qt for the next billion, meaning that Qt will be available in other platforms as well, not only Symbian and MeeGo. So Qt and of course QML will be relevant. All these, for example, here in the launcher, all these applications have been implemented, UI have been implemented with the QML, and it means that those applications will run in Symbian as well. The engines have been written with Qt. Of course, there are something like Gallery. Gallery uses MIMO services like a tracker. So that's something which has to be ported possibly. Why? Okay, what is tracker? So the applications can use the tracker to find the media in the phone, the different media files. Okay, in Symbian we don't have a tracker, but we have the mobility APIs in Qt. We have the Gallery mobility APIs. In MeeGo it uses the tracker. In Symbian it uses, actually there is not such a central service, so it uses just other APIs. It uses actually the Gallery APIs directly. So the point is that you don't really have to worry. You don't have to worry that what kind of a platform services there are, how they have been implemented, because you use Qt and QML. Okay? There are not really MeeGo phones. If you think that this Nokia N9 is the MeeGo Harmattan phone, not really MeeGo phones available yet. The common thing between these two anyway is that they both share MeeGo Touch. What is MeeGo Touch? If you look at it, has been implemented using M classes on the top of the kit. And that is available there in the open source repositories of the MeeGo. But Nokia uses MeeGo Touch in a different way. The user experience is rather similar, but they use QML components. So QML widgets to implement the MeeGo Touch user experience. Okay. Swipe is important as we discussed, and then there are differences in packaging if you really compare to the core MeeGo. So N9 still uses the same Debian packaging which was used by the MIMO. Meaning that you don't have to learn a new way to package, and of course the packages are created by the tool. So of course you have to edit something, put version information and things like that into the packages, define the icons and other possible resources. This is MeeGo Harmattan, and then the point was that yes, this is not the only platform to develop. Of course, it's only phone now which is running this MeeGo Harmattan. But the same software can be run in Symbian and any Qt-based phones. This is the hardware specification. Not a bad display. Quite a lot of RAM. Unfortunately, RAM consumption is quite large in the framework. GPS, compass, Wi-Fi, USB, Bluetooth, near field communication. I don't know if you have in mind any NFC applications, but in many countries there are companies who now invest money on NFC to communicate between devices or to communicate from anything to the device. For example, the user can go to the shop, use the NFC, and see that, okay, this is this kind of a television, the price is this, the features are this. Okay, this is this kind of a whatever device that is actually, and so on. So read information from the neighborhood using the NFC. And again, you don't have to know about anything about the NFC because you can use the mobility APIs to use the NFC services. Okay, plenty of different audio codecs, video codecs and video containers, camera, and so on. I won't go into the full details of this, but this is something what you can find in the landing page, web page there, and see that what really these features were. But you can see that this is not just any basic feature phone, so it's really a smartphone with plenty of nice features and quite powerful hardware as well. And for example, the display is rather nice. Okay, so I was going to talk about user experience, and I'm talking about the hardware specification. Some principles which are met by MeeGo and which should be met by your applications. Simple and intuitive. What does it mean? I don't want to say anything negative about this Nokia N8, but if you receive a message, or if you receive a phone call, but you don't answer that immediately, you just press a button that, hey, dialogue which tells this notification disappear. Later, if you want to look at that, who called me? You have to press this, you have to press applications, you have to open the log program, and then you have to open in the log program the right view to see the missed calls. And plenty of things. If you want to read the message, you have to go to the applications, you have to open the messaging application, you have to go to the inbox. You have to have several touches before you can actually get the activity. This is not the idea in MeeGo. The idea is to go quickly there where the information is. And this is handled in several different ways. For example, in the application launcher, there are no subfolders. The navigation there and in general should be shallow. All the notifications are in one place. Of course, you can go to the application and see that if there is a specific notification for this application, but you don't have it. You can go to the one page where you have all the notifications, click there. What is this notification? And the corresponding application which is capable of showing this application will be open to you. That's the idea. Okay, direct touch, that's a little bit different thing. Direct touch means that if you have a list item, for example, you don't have to select an item and then touch again to start some functionality related to the item. So if you click once, if there is any activity associated with the item, it will be started immediately. That's the idea of the direct touch. I will demonstrate, you will get it more, get it clearer that what all these terms mean. Reduce the visual noise, no too much information, no too complicated structures to navigate somewhere. Meaningful personalization in smart and dynamic ways, not just theming. This covers starting from the colors of your application. So the color can and should indicate that this is not a certain application. The same color is used to show that this application is in the background. It has been started, but it's not running yet. It should be used in the launcher to show the application icon, and it should be and can be used in the different UI controls what you have, so that the user has the same experience all the time. That okay, this color means that it's colored. This color means that this is the phone application, and so on. That's the personalization. Speaks my language. This is a little bit more difficult. The idea here is that you should have an applications have a very polite and intuitive language. And of course, for example, for me, because I'm not a native English speaker, I don't really see the difference between these two sentences. The gallery won't open. This is a polite, nice way to say it. Unable to open gallery. This is not a good way. Okay, if you localize your applications to Russia, of course, in the native language, you know that how to say things and how not to say things. This is in English. I have taken this sentence from the guidelines, but I have to be honest that I don't see the difference here. To me, it could be either way around, but the bolded one is the right one which you should use. Familiar language, friendly language, something what the user feels comfortable. So now, in addition to be able to write the software, we have to be linguistic geniuses to understand all these forms. Okay, perhaps some help can be used here. Okay, Nokia 9. So this MeeGo Harmattan is premium Nokia, not any simple stupid phone, plenty of nice things, and well, I don't say anything about that. Hopefully it does. Bring a smile to your face. Let's look at the basic UI model. I will show actually this slide and then demonstrate. We have a concept of the home screen. We have multiple home screens, like we have in Android, like we have in Nokia N8. But we have a little bit different interpretation for different home screens. The number of home screens has been fixed. It's 3. You have a launcher, you have the notifications, and then you have multitasking. Okay, launcher is obviously used to start applications. It's a 4-column list. It's a 4-column list which grows vertical. So no additional columns added. No folders. So when you install or when the user installs new applications, they will be appended here into the end of this launcher. Uninstalling is straightforward. You just long press. And then there is a dialog that you want to uninstall this program. Yes, there is also application manager in the settings, what can be used to do the same thing. Multitasking means that here you see the thumbnails of applications which have been started. And the idea is that it's a quick way for the user to navigate back to some application. I was editing something, for example, then I have a message, I go to the messaging application, read the message, and then I want to continue in the editor application to do something. Then I use the multitasking and click here, the thumbnail goes, or it will continue running the application what was there, so that will come to the foreground. The application what you have used most recently will be the first one in the list. So the auto thumbnails are changed here. And then you can use two finger, pinch to zoom or unzoom, and actually there are the two levels. You may have a 3-3 or 2-2 print. Not in an arbitrary way. Okay, and then you have a lock screen where you can define whether the code will be asked from the user. Yeah, and notifications. You can define what kind of notifications are put into the notifications home screen. And of course, you can define, for example, if you order RSS feeds, you can define that all the feeds are handled by the browser application only, or only your own application. They don't have to go to the notification feed. But if you want, they will go there. And the idea here is that you have your events, you have your feed notifications, you have your application notifications, everything here. So the user can swipe, for example, on the launcher, swipe here, look at, hey, there is an interesting notification, click it, and then the application who can handle this particular notification will be started. Screen, you can see that there are some screens where it has been fixed which the orientation is. So of course we have the both portrait and landscape orientation, but for this it hasn't been defined. Okay, if I swipe like this, and then I can, in the application I can swipe also that way. Okay, horizontally we can see that I have these 3 different home screens here. Here I have the notifications, unfortunately in Finnish. Of course this is the launcher, and these are the applications which are running, and I can change the view to the 2-2 or then 3-3 view if I want. Rather straightforward from the user point of view. If I'm running an application like the gallery here, okay, I can see that yes, there are applications where the orientation of course automatically changes. To exit from the application, I just swipe. So the swipe is the important concept here. Okay, then I can launch other applications. No, like the music player, and then I have some songs there, and again I can just swipe to exit from the application. Exit doesn't close the application, so now if I look at here, the applications what I have started, the music player is now there. The first one, applications what I have started are shown here. And music player was the most recent one. Okay, you saw that I hit something, if I long press here, and there is this kind of a view where I can really close the application. So if I don't want music player to be run anymore, I just hit this X, and then I can again swipe somewhere else to do something else. If I click the notification, it will show the notification like this. These are RSS notifications, and then I can open it. Now I don't have the network connection here, so it can't really read that. Okay, virtual keyboards. And that's the basic functionality. If you have the list like here, well actually this is a grid, all this inertia functionality, bouncing functionality is already there. So you just have to define the properties that how long it bounces, how quickly it deaccelerates, and things like that. All of those are QML properties. Okay? So hopefully you get the idea. Simple and intuitive compared to other Nokia smartphones like, for example, Symbian M8, which may be familiar to you. Your application can subscribe any kind of feeds, for example, what it is interested in, and it can decide whether those notifications are shown here or whether they are handled locally in the application. And then the third option is that you use the Qt notification API to subscribe any kind of notifications, any kind of custom notifications as well into your application. And again, those notifications can be shown here or then in the application only. And the behavior is similar to the home screen if you think that you have these notifications like home screen widgets. So if I click refresh, I would need the network connection, of course, but if I have the network connection, it would update that what is the current news or what is the weather information or whatever information or data I have subscribed. My goal in this training is that if you don't have already, you start developing, you start porting, you continue developing, you continue porting an application and eventually put it into the Office store. So all of you will create at least one application to Office store. That's the goal of this training. And that's why we start from the rather basic things that how to design an application. What are the basic rules in MeeGo? So first of all, you can think that what kind of an application type you have. Is it a productivity application or immersive application? Productivity applications are calendar, messaging, somewhere where you have a clear task, clear functionality related to the task, and it should be simple and efficient to use. That is a productive task. And often you use both of these are productivity applications. Often you use the existing QML components to build the functionality. Like a list or print. Here is another list and the header with some sort functionality. This indicates sorting, and then of course we have a toolbar, or may have a toolbar there as well. And then we have immersive or immersion applications, which are typically, not necessarily, but typically totally customized. The developer decides that what kind of menus to use, if there are any menus, how to use different functionality in the application. They are typically full screen. But the important point is that they must not be in contradiction with the basic UI model in MeeGo. So still your immersion application should be able to be exited by swipe, for example. So this is the first thing what you think. Productivity, efficiency, simple to use, quickly, the important functionality, the most important actions. And to be able to access the most important access quickly, you often use tabs. Tabs in the toolbar. So show this view. Okay, click tab, show another view to do message editing, for example. Click another tab to send a message, and so on. A sequence of functionality where each functionality is one view. This is an example when the productivity approach is good. Calendar, think about again these tabs. Quick to change from the month view to the weekly view or to the day view using the tabs on the screen. Of course, it doesn't mean that you have to use tabs to navigate between the views, but that is often an easy and quick way. Tabs to show the views, toolbars highlighting the key actions. Toolbar is there actually in the same place where you have the tabs, and then often drill down structure. So first the user selects the most important view using the tabs, for example. Then there is a list of items, for example, and when one item is selected, you drill down, you go into the deeper view, and then the user can navigate back. Let's look at these navigational patterns parts. These are typical for the productivity applications. While immersion, full view, customized user experience, the developer has to take care of that if he wants. Of course, if you have some OpenGL game, quite likely it's the game with its own user experience. It doesn't need or it shouldn't look anything like MeeGo. It should look like that game. May rely on native components. Native components means these QML UI components to build the user interface. And then designer is responsible how it works, and map browsing would be an example of immersive application. Full screen, full view, possibly custom controls to zoom in, to zoom out, to set the location in the map, and so on. That's the first thing what you decide, and then you have to know a little bit that what kind of a screen we have. You have, surprise, surprise, the status pane, and then you have the action bar, tab bar, or just, you may call it toolbar. Toolbar may contain actions to start something, or it may contain tabs to show another view. Okay? Then the operator can customize that what is shown in the status bar. The point is that this is the quick way to go to the settings. I didn't show this, but if you click the status bar, there will be some basic information, volume settings, network settings, and so on. Another way, of course, is that the user starts settings application. Okay? And you can just hide or show. So make the visibility of the status bar true or false. That's how you define whether it will be shown or not. If you do it in code, if you have a signal handler causes that the visibility of the status bar will be changed, it's automatically animated away. You don't have to implement any animation that animate the y coordinate to minus the height of this status bar. And the same is true for the action bar. You define the visibility, and then it will be automatically, if you change the visibility, it will animate to its position, or it will animate away. Okay, so these are straightforward to use. You can compare to any smartphone platform, they have the same kind of components. Here we have actions. The actions are, or these icons are theme dependent. Defining that which theme you use, there are different kind of icons. You can define your own theme, or in the existing theme you can replace the items. Of course it doesn't look native MeeGo anymore, but if you want. Okay, this is the back button, meaning that we navigate to the previous view. Okay, add something, it doesn't make sense to add anything into the mailbox. Add, for example, contact information, refresh, and this is the symbol to open the action menu. Okay, up to 5, you can see that now there are 4 icons, and couldn't be much more. Up to 5 icons or actions can be shown at a time. Okay, then you may have a header menu, like here, to have some functionality, so actions like sorting. Of course, this is optional. And then you have a content area. In this content area, there is a list. And there are list items, and list items can be totally customized that what they contain. And of course, you can style as well that there are some different colors. You can have also separators between the content and so on in the lists. So my point here is that what I think I said several times is the concept of the view. So basic application typically has some main view. The user navigates using the tabs, using the actions in any of the items what we have here. The user navigates to another view, and then the user can of course navigate back, and the user can go to another view. Sounds stupid, but this is the skeleton of your whole application. In MeeGo, views are actually called pages. Each of these views, they typically are their own QML components, so QML files, which defines that what is this page, what is this page. And those of you who know QML know that we don't just, when we launch the application, it doesn't make sense to load all the QML content during the launch of the application. It's loaded dynamically when it's needed. We use lazy load. And now when you separate the pages like that, now it's trivial to load each page when the user navigates to that page. And now you say that, okay, user clicks something and it takes 10 seconds to load the page because it's so complicated. Of course, you have to think that if you have complicated pages with a lot of data, a lot of things that have to be loaded, that you pre-load them. Of course, then you use more memory, but if you want to provide a nice user experience, the page should be quickly available. And there's a concept of a page stack. So if you really think the code, how you write this? I said that these are QML files. How you write the code to load the pages? You push here, you push a new page to the page stack. So this will be the new page. Well, page stack works as a normal stack. So whichever page we have on the top of the stack, like this, will be shown now. This page is called active. And other pages are inactive because they are not shown. Then we push another page there. And then we pop, when the user navigates back. This is the basic functionality, and these are the basic functions. Those are JavaScript functions, what you use in QML to implement that functionality. Let's look at that later, but now you know the principle. Okay, that's what we have in the screen. Then you may have lists. I guess that many of you have used the QML list view, so the easiest way is to use that. There is not any, let's say, MeeGo specific list view. You just use the QML list or grid views. Split view may be useful in certain cases, for example in a calendar, where you have a certain view and you want to have some detailed information related to that view, especially to that 13th day what you have there. And now you can see that we have here together, we have the tabs and actions. They should be clearly separated. But there are the different bar for the tabs, and then this plus, and this menu is action. What are the difference? These are tabs. So when the user navigates, so the user clicks one of these, the view of a calendar is shown changes. That's the difference between tabs and actions. Split view, there is not any special element for this. So this is handled by anchoring the QML elements, the visual elements, in the expected way, in the way you want on the screen. Okay, so lists, grids, split views, full screen and full screen is typically something where you want to provide totally your own content. Games, OpenShield is the typical example where it's not useful anymore to use the QML components. The important thing was that implement the functionality what the user expects. So swipe to exit. That's anyway what the MeeGo device user expects, that's also how we exit from this game, whatever application we have. Okay, these are the basic ways to design your UI. Think about whether the application is productivity or immersion. Know that what are the basic parts of the screen anatomy. Know that what are the patterns, let's look at those soon, and then think how to navigate in the application. You can have, in practice, drill down or tabs. Drill down or tabs. Some of the UX problems with navigation can be solved with a sheet component. Sheet is something which can be swiped open, and there is buttons. You always have to define at least one button shown on the top of the screen, and then there are any kind of other detailed settings related to this application view. So if it looks like that, this view is going to be too complicated, but you think that it's not good to have two separate views, then you may think about having a sheet. So an extra view on the top of the existing view. 4 settings, typically 4 settings. Use 4 settings. But let's look at these navigation structures. Tab bar is very weak. The user can quickly go to the behavior what he or she wants. Convenient, but then the problem may be that you can have at most 5 tabs. So that may be too small now. You may need more. Then you may have drill down. So there is any kind, like a list item, but it can be any kind of a UI control. Where you have functionality, push the next page to the page tag. And that will result that we navigate here. Then we show the icon to navigate back. We can drill down further, and so on. So here the good thing in the navigation is that it's powerful. It's powerful and allows to have quite complicated structures and deep structures. Of course, the user experience perhaps is not very good if you have 25 different levels, but allows you to have a lot of functionality in these different levels. Excuse me. No. But then you can combine. Combine so that the main view contains the tabs for the most important functionality. And then in the views which are opened, there is secondary functionality which is implemented with drill down. User navigates to do something not so important typically, not so important, but some functionality related to the application. Okay. Header menu, this was used for filtering. So you can decide that pressing this button, how we filter the items what we have here. Do we have a timeline, mentions, do we have messages, do we have lists, or whatever you define there in the filter to exist. This is again good, and if you have a list of data, easy to define different criteria how to show the data in the proper way to the user. In the proper, in this context, means in an efficient way. Okay? Tabs we discussed. For quick navigation, I think that there is nothing new here anymore. Never add back button, action menu, or actions to the bar. So keep them separated, as you saw in one of my previous slides. No. It was here. So now we have actions, we have the action menu, and then we have tabs, but they are not in the same toolbar. They are nested, but two different bars. This is considered to be confusing to the user if you put the back buttons, action menu or actions to the same toolbar. Okay, drill down. I just think I discussed that. Enough. Overlays. Very basic overlays like a menu. Object menu you implement in such a way that you define a signal handler for the item in the page again. It can be a list item or whatever content you have there. And then if you long press, the object menu will be open. Compared to the action menu, which we know that will be always open here. Event handler will quite likely emit a signal. And then in QML, we handle the signal not in the slots. In QML, we don't have slots. We have signal handlers. Who doesn't know what is the signal and what is the slot? Nobody at least on this. Just checking that. You understand what I'm talking about? Action menu, yes, and then finally there is a sheet. Sheet showing some additional functionality. You must have at least one button, and up here these are the buttons, save, cancel, and then you have functionality, for example, set up the Wi-Fi connection. So this could be something that the user is, for example, using the browser, entering the address where to go, and then it doesn't make sense that into the same browser view you implement the connection settings. So that's where the sheet is useful, and the sheet provides the extra functionality related to the connection creation. And then the user continues using the browser or whatever in every program that is. These are the different overlay models. So in practice, what it means that you show and hide them. So you really don't have to implement complicated functionality to have a dialogue or to have a menu. You show the menu, you hide the menu, and that's it. As we will see when we look at the code. Other rather trivial things still related to the application design are highlight color. So one of the design principles in MeeGo is that you have color cues, so visual cues. which tell you that some visual thing is related to something. And now I'm talking about colors. Color is related to an application. In application, you use the color, whatever that then is, you use in the consistent way. If you want to emphasize, if you want to show that something is enabled, disabled, you still use the same color, but you use a little bit different shade of the color. And then, of course, in the same application, the color can be often changed as well by style. But then that's the user story. The, let's say, default color is not good in this opinion. So everywhere now, the color identifies the application. In the launcher icon, it should have the color. In the thumbnail, in the multitasking view, in the application controls itself. Okay? And that shows that how then to use the color to highlight different things in your application. To show the state of the buttons. Okay, in the sliders we don't have that kind of a functionality. You can just have the color there, showing the state of the switches, radio buttons. The header can be shown in that color. So the idea is that in a consistent way to use the color throughout the application. Then it looks native. If you have your own requirements to show the application, that is acceptable as well. It looks, my application, it looks similar in Symbian, in MeeGo. I don't want this color to identify my application. That may be your solution as well. There are very detailed rules that how to draw the icons in the launcher, inside the application, and in the toolbar. All the measures, the sizes, the clipping regions, everything has been defined, and of course this is now too detailed information, so this is something what you read in this web page. But you know that how to draw an icon which looks in the launcher similar to the native application icons. And these are the basic rules. Not any rocket science. The only thing is that you take the documentation, you decide or design that my application will use these kind of pages, these kind of controls in the pages, and then you look at the documentation and see that, okay, this is how I write the page, this is how I write the content to the page, and that's it. Or make it in the design. You don't have to write it, you can make it in the QML design. Don't kill me. Kill me if you can't. The idea is that you can do it in a QML designer, but it's not very advanced. So quite soon you may run into the limitations that I can't do this kind of a thing in the designer. I have to code it, but typically that's not a problem because coding is easy. I have two things related to the user experience left. A few slides which tells what to do and what not to do, and then a short summary that what kind of patterns and components you have, what you can use. These are rather straightforward as rules, but of course to apply them properly always, that may be a little bit more challenging. Try to keep it simple and easy to use. Okay, this is how the UX guys then test. They have some scenario plan, whatever they test that, is it now easy and intuitive. Avoid replication of the MeeGo's core interaction model. Yes, you can use swipes, for example. That's very nice, for example, to browse the horizontal list. But don't mix with the browse from the corner, to swipe from corner to corner, or from the border to border, because that should be close the application. Don't introduce layer-based edge swiping as a border swiping, edge swiping navigation structure. That will be confusing. This is very important. Think about my fingers. It's always 4 buttons. Okay. Browsing is difficult because many web pages, they don't take into account that there may be mobile users. Difficult to touch some small text. There are MeeGo programs which I can't use properly because the controls are too small. That's also defined. Follow the guidelines that what is the minimum size of something which should be pressed. Rely on the common components, use them directly, or customize in a coherent way, so don't define 52 different buttons which behave in a different way in different cases. Then the UI is not simple and easy to use anymore. Or just use them like that, if you can. Okay. Most important functions should be in the action bar. So always there at the bottom. The most important views using the tabs, the action bar, secondary functions in the content area or view menu, and then place some item-specific functions into the object menu. For example, send this item, delete this item, maximize this item, whatever behavior you think is useful. Avoid application of the same function in different views. One view handles a certain task and it has actions and actions and menus to handle that task in hand. This is again that where to find it, then people remember that it was in that view, hey, now it's here in this view, and it will be confusing in general from the usability point of view. If you have the same function in different views. Aim to scroll only repeating content. Repeating content, item, 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 item. So we have a list, or we have a grid. That's good to scroll. But very bad thing is that if you have something like this is your view, and this is the actual content in the view, and let's say that you have some toolbar, for example, here, which is of course now too large to be shown even here, so the user has to scroll. So it is expected that the user can see all the functionality in the view right there, either in the toolbar or by opening the action menu and so on. The only case where this is feasible, that the content is larger than what you saw in the view, is that there are not any functionality. So you just drag, this is a map, for example, and you drag the viewport that which part of the map you are showing, or the user is seeing. Then it makes sense. So content may be larger, but content must not contain any non-visible controls at any time. That's what the scroll only repeating content means. Curb your verbosity, so that may be difficult if you use not your native language. Be polite, be consistent, use nice language. Okay, be consistent with core interactions we discussed. It should be possible to revert most actions. So prompts are only used for unexpected events. So don't ask the user every time that, are you sure? Do you really want to do this? If it's not reversible, for example, delete the file and it can't be undeleted, then it may be, or it is good to ask the user that you really want this file to be deleted. But not in all cases. Click an icon. Do you really want this application to be open? Or something like that. Okay. And then exceptions are okay if you really think that it makes your application nice. I didn't put a complete list. I wanted this to be rather short, but the principle is rather simple. You think that I need, let's say, a sheet. You look at, of course, or need to understand that how the sheet works. But after that, you look at in the documentation that what is the sheet QML element. And then you define the properties. Some of the properties may be signal handlers. You define that how the sheet looks like, and using the signal handlers, you define how it behaves. And that's it. Some of them are very straightforward. Some of them may require a little bit thinking that what this and that thing means. Everything is very well documented. So easy to read there. Toolbar, we have discussed toolbar buttons already. If you have a back, that should be always on the left. Of course, if you are in the root page, there is not any parent, then you don't have a back button. Action menu should be on the right. So always the user knows that here I can find this, here I can find that, if that functionality exists. Negative actions on the right, positive on the left. This is another rule of thumb. If you have other actions in the toolbar. So delete or create new one. Create new one is positive, delete is negative. Dialogues and menus, there are 4 different QML objects to create these. Query dialog, action menu, object menu, blah blah blah. Yeah, and then just the dialog. Basic dialog where you can implement the fields and what the dialog asks or what it shows, you can implement it yourself. Okay, sheet was the self-contained full screen shown so that it will slide from the bottom, providing some temporary context like creating the network settings for sending an email. Something extra. Here is a sheet. Now the sheet doesn't show any controls, it just shows the buttons, send, for example, an email, or cancel. So the buttons are important. There must be some buttons to do something, and the buttons, as you see in the sheet, they are up there. Okay? Completer, I didn't put anything that straightforward. It uses the list of items, for example, the string list, and then asks the user to select from the pickup list that what is the city, what is the country, or whatever you want to complete. And then for time and date picker, in general, you are encouraged to use this. You can see that the time picker looks very different to other platforms. So you drag the minutes and hours to set that when the alarm occurs, or whatever time functionality you may need to have. The date picker doesn't look so different. There is the date month year selected from the spin box like functionality. But rather than creating your own, let's say you ask the user using let's say an editor, enter the current time here by using a number, colon and something, which could be used. It may be nicer that everywhere where the time and date settings are made, you use the same picker. These are the patterns, and the patterns are themselves QML elements like the elements themselves. And components are QML elements. Again, this is not exactly a complete list, but you can see what you can do. You have been seeing the view headers. It may just contain text. It may have icon and text. It may have action, like the sorting functionality. Group headers and dividers can be defined. This is very small, but there is a separator with the letter A. So separates that in alphabetical order which items belong to another group, which items belong to some other group. List items may have text, they may have a thumbnail, they may have an icon. So notice that in MeeGo it means that the position of this by default is totally in a different place, depending whether you use the thumbnail or icon. They may be framed, so frame is drawn around the list item. I don't have an example of that. Text fields in different kind of elements. For example, in the push buttons, labels, and so on. And sorry, text fields actually means, of course, the input fields. So you can input just plain text or rich text. Two kinds of editors like we have in Kit. And by default, the virtual keyboard is activated. So when the user hits the text field, the virtual keyboard is chosen, and then the user can use that to input the text. Labels, again, with a text or icon or both. Buttons with text, icon, text or drop down. Drop down uses the a list of items to show, for example, cities, checkboxes, switches, radio buttons. You can again define that, how they look like, how rounded they are, what is the background color, things like that. Sliders, you can define the tooltip of slider this is. You can define the actions, this minus and plus, those are the optional actions, of course, to increase and decrease the value. Progress bar, you have two different bars, one showing, let's say, not known time period. So it's just animated, it doesn't go anywhere, just animated that something is going on. And then there is a progress bar where we know that's how long some action takes place. And that progress bar is then increasing, of course. Spinners. There is my spinner. Doesn't so very well. Okay, point is that spinners can be used in several places again. In the view header, like here. In content, here the idea is that we show it in content. We have a list item. We could have, for example, let's say, application which shows images, and we are loading the images in a network. And you know, or those of you who know QML know that images can be loaded in an asynchronous way, and we can show for each image list item that is it loaded or not, if the loading is complete. So the spinner should be somewhere here, but I guess that now it's somewhere here because it's not so. So you can put it in content, model loading, so show in the screen. The user can't do anything else but just wait and enjoy the spinner, and then you can put it in the sheet. If, for example, send a message, you send a message and show that it takes some time. Assistant banners shown below the status bar can contain icon, text, or both, and if you have text as shown there, it can be at most on 3 lines. We have a couple of more, but these are the basic QML elements. These are not cute widgets, but QML elements from which you build on your application. Okay. Now you should have an idea that if you are going to write an application, that where to start, how to start designing the application, how to start applying that, what kind of a list, what kind of a slide, how to use these different building blocks.